All right, let's dive into one of the biggest questions in tech today. Is AI really going to get rid of programmers? We're going to break down how artificial intelligence is completely changing the game for coders and, in the process, creating a totally new kind of developer.
And this quote right here from former Harvard professor Matt Welsh really sets the stage. His prediction is that we're on the verge of a massive shift. The whole idea is that instead of painstakingly writing out every single instruction, we're just going to train an AI to do what we want. It's a huge statement, and it really does suggest that the era of programming as we've always known it is coming to an end.
Now, as wild as that sounds, if you've been in the industry for a while, you're probably feeling a little skeptical. And for good reason, because, well, we've definitely heard this story before. The end of programming has been announced over and over again.
I mean, just look at the pattern. Back in the 80s, we had case tools that were supposed to auto-generate all our code. Then in the 90s, the big idea was that we'd all just be configuring pre-built software. More recently, you had the whole low-code and no-code movement, promising that anyone could build an app. And every single time, the tools changed the job, sure, but they never actually got rid of the developer. So the billion-dollar question is this time with AI really different? Well, the first big clue that maybe, just maybe, things are different this time came when AI tools started to feel less like a tool and more like a real partner, a true collaborator sitting right there with you, helping you code. And the engine that powered this whole shift was OpenAI's Codex. Now, look at these numbers. It was trained on 159 gigabytes of Python code. That's from 54 million different GitHub projects. So it didn't just learn the rules of code. It learned the patterns, the styles, the unspoken ways that real developers solve problems. This is the model that made the very first GitHub Copilot possible. And this is the key. We went from tools that would just finish the line of code you were typing to a system that could write entire functions from a simple comment. It was a fundamental change. You weren't just typing anymore, you were directing. The AI was no longer just an assistant, it was a real collaborator.
This new partnership has given rise to a completely new way of building things. It's a style that's less about getting every semicolon right and more about just describing what you want to achieve. A lot of people have started calling this vibe coding.
So what exactly is vibe coding? Think of it like a conversation. It's a relaxed, back-and-forth dialogue with an AI. You give it a high-level goal, the vibe, in plain English. The AI spits out some code, you try it, you give it feedback, and you keep going in this loop until it does what you want. And now, a whole universe of tools is popping up to make this happen. Things like Cursor are building development environments, where the entire process, from idea to code to debugging, all happens inside a single flowing conversation. AI legend Andrej Karpathy really hit the nail on the head when he coined the term. He described it like this. It's not really programming, I just see stuff, say stuff, run stuff, and it mostly works. And that perfectly captures the feeling. It's almost like jazz. You're improvising with a partner that's incredibly fast and literal. Okay, so to make this feel a little less abstract, let's look at two of the heavy hitters in this space right now, GitHub Copilot and Cursor. They kind of represent two totally different philosophies on how AI should fit into a coder's life. So on one hand, you have GitHub Copilot. Think of it as a turbocharger for the editor you already use, like VS Code. It's all about making you faster and more efficient right where you are. But then you have Cursor, which is totally different. It's an AI-first editor, built from scratch with the idea that the AI should understand your entire project, so it can make really complex changes across multiple files from just one prompt. And here's a quick peek at the price tags. Copilot Pro is about $10 a month, and its big win is how perfectly it plugs into the whole GitHub world. Cursor Pro is double that at $20, but you're paying for that deep, project-wide understanding and the choice to use different AI models. So the choice really comes down to this. Do you want to supercharge your current workflow, or do you want to jump into a brand new AI-native one? So when the tools of the trade change this dramatically, it's only natural that the role of the person using them changes too. And that's what we're seeing. A new role is emerging, one that many people are calling the product engineer. And you know what? Developers are mostly on board with this. A 2024 survey from Stack Overflow showed that almost 3/4 of them feel pretty good about using AI in their jobs. They see it as a way to get rid of the boring stuff and focus on solving bigger, more interesting problems. But, and this is a huge but, there's a catch. Even though they're optimistic for themselves, A whopping 94% of engineers believe that AI is going to seriously shake up the job market, especially for people just starting out.
And that's forcing a complete rethink of what an engineer even is. You see, the traditional software engineer was all about implementation. They got a spec, they wrote clean code, and they were measured on how fast and reliable that code was. But the product engineer, they're measured by the outcome. Their main job is to solve the user's problem, period. They own a feature from the very first spark of an idea all the way to shipping it, and they use AI to make the how happen way faster. This image just captures it perfectly. The product engineer is the pilot. They bring the human vision, the creativity, the deep understanding of what a user actually needs. And they combine that with the raw speed and power of an AI. The AI becomes the jet engine, handling the heavy lifting, while the human is in the cockpit, providing the direction.
So, what does this all mean for the future? Well, it looks like a future where making things is less about the manual labor of typing and more about being a conductor, an orchestrator of creation.
And that brings us right back to where we started. Is programming dead? No, not at all. But is the tedious, manual, line-by-line process of writing code becoming obsolete? Yeah, I think it is. The problem-solving, the architectural thinking, that's all still crucial. It's just happening at a much, much higher level.
The new creative process looks a lot more like this. It all starts with the human's vision. Then, that person acts as an orchestrator, guiding AI tools to generate, test, and fix the solution. And finally, the human steps in to apply that uniquely human touch, the creativity, the critical thinking, to refine and perfect the final product. Your value shifts from being a writer to being a director.
And that leaves us with one last, really fascinating question. For so long, what we could create was limited by how fast we could physically type code. As AI automates more and more of that grunt work, the bottleneck isn't implementation anymore. The new bottleneck is simply our own imagination. So, as the code starts to write itself, what will we choose to create?